how to make this sourdough. It's just a plain simple loaf and it's a lot of easy steps, just very time consuming. So let's get right into it. Okay, step one is to feed your sourdough starter. I just keep mine in this mason jar, and my sourdough that was not activated yet, which means I haven't fed it, was about this high up, and I'm gonna go ahead and feed it. That has a really nice measurement. If you see right here, there's some little measurement lines, and I had about 100 grams of just my sourdough, and it hasn't been activated yet. And so I'm just gonna do equal parts of that with flour and water. I already added my flour, so there's 100 milligrams or 100 grams of flour in that. And then I'm just using this food scale. I got it on Amazon, you can find them anywhere. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add 100 grams of water to that as well and mix it up. I think it's very important to use warm water because it helps activate the starter even more. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm turning the sourdough discard that we had into active sourdough. This process takes about 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours, usually the amount of time that I let the sourdough discard turn into starter for. I know a lot of people have different things. Also, for this whole video, everyone always has different techniques and things that they do to make their sourdough. This is what I do, and it works for me, so if you want to try it, you can go ahead and try it. But this is all mixed up. I just use this little spatula that I have. You could use a spoon or anything. Does not really matter. But this is kind of what it looks like. I'll show you a little closer. It's very unappetizing. Okay, here's an above view of what it looks like. I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready to make bread and is active, because it honestly changes so much. I'll move it around and you can see it's just very dead looking and not a lot is going on right now. It's been a long time since we last checked in. This is what our sourdough looks like. Look at how much it rose. It has so many air bubbles in there, which is exactly what we want. And this is what an active sourdough starter is gonna look like. As you see, if I move it around, there's lots of spider webbing. I have seen it more active before, but I got a little sidetracked, so it's been like 7 hours. So it's starting to go down, but you can still use it. Just as long as there are lots of air bubbles, you are good to go to make the dough. So let's do that next. So we're on to step 2, which is making the actual dough now that our sourdough starter is fully active. And this step is so easy. I can add the measurements into the description so you guys don't have to worry about writing those down right now, but I have them right here. So the first thing that I do is I add 100 grams of my active sourdough starter into a bowl, and I just have my food scale out again, which is probably one of the most important tools to have for this whole process, just so that you get the measurements pretty accurate. And then the next thing that I do is I mix it with the water. So I just have some more warm water right here. Always use warm water so that it keeps the sourdough starter active. When it's cold, it doesn't work as well and the bread's not gonna rise as well. So make sure you have some warm water. And I'm just gonna start with 340 grams of it in the bowl. I always end up adding extra water after I add the flour, but I think 340 is a great starting point. I have my flour over here. Before I add that, I like to mix together the sourdough starter and the water a little bit, just because I feel like it helps blend all the ingredients better, and when you add the flour, it's gonna be a lot easier to mix. Go ahead and add the flour, and I'm gonna use 540 grams to make a full-size loaf. I know you can adjust the measurements, make smaller loaves, and play around, but this is kind of my go-to amount of flour. This is kind of what we're looking like right now. We just have the starter, the water, and the flour in the bowl, and I'm just gonna mix it. Okay, so you kind of just want a sticky, wet, shaggy looking dough. And I'll give you guys a little close up, but this is kind of what it looks like. It's very shaggy and it's not really fully put together, which is exactly what we want. We don't want to really top dough just yet. I have these little hairnets. You can find them on Amazon. You can also use a towel or anything just to cover the dough so that it's going to be able to rise really well. I just think these are really nice and convenient. So I'm just going to put this up, and I have a little hack that I want to show you guys. Here's my hack. It's so nice if you have one of these little candle warmers. If you put your bowl next to it, because it's going to have a lot of warmth coming and it helps your dough rise a lot. So while I'm letting this dough rise, it's going to be 1 hour till our next check-in. I will just keep it right here, and it's going to help activate it even more. We are ready for step 3, which is going to be our series of stretch and folds. So for this, you're just going to pop the top off. Take your towel off, whatever you're doing. Make sure you have clean hands. And this is what our dough looks like. I'll show you real quick. It doesn't look much different from when we started, but it's really binded together really nicely. So it's going to set us up for perfect stretch and folds. And all a stretch and fold is, you'll go reach under the dough, pull it up, and fold it over itself. And do it like 4 times, alternating the direction of the bowl each time. I'll do 5 for this round. And that's pretty much all. So now you're starting to see the dough form into a more of a ball shape. And with each stretch and fold, it's gonna come together even more and more. So that was our first one. We're gonna do 3 more after that, 30 minutes apart. It's so messy. Worth it though. We're on our last stretch and fold now, and the dough looks way more together, not as spiderwebby and just loose, and so it's looking really good. I'm just gonna go ahead and do the last stretch and fold, and then we're gonna go to step 4, I believe, and that is going to be our bulk fermentation. So we're just gonna let this sit and rise for about 3 hours is what I'm gonna do. It's 6 p.m. right now, so I'm gonna let it rise to about 9, and then we're gonna bake it after that. And I'm very excited. This is just our plain loaf today, and it's gonna be great, very versatile, but time to add the cover back on, and then we're just gonna let it rest for 3 hours. And I'm putting it by the candle warmer so it gets real big. Our dough rose so much. We are ready for our next step, which is going to be shaping the dough. You guys, this is gonna be absolutely perfect. I'm just tossing that, I'm not gonna need it anymore. And I'm just gonna show you what this dough is looking like. It is very active. It's looking large, there's bubbles, and it's getting a little spider webby, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So all I'm gonna do is pour it out onto the counter. I just cleaned the counter and then put some flour on it so that the dough is not gonna stick to the surface. And I just use this little bench scraper. I would recommend getting that. It's in a lot of the sourdough kits that you can get when you are first starting out with sourdough. And I'm just gonna scrape it out. Sometimes it's a little difficult because this is so insanely sticky. It's kind of a hazard for your drain in your sink. So just keep that in mind when you're making your sourdough. Try not to put it down the drain because it can cause a lot of plumbing issues. But we have our dough out on the counter. All I'm gonna do is stretch it into a rectangular shape and then fold it on each other. So I need to wet my hands a little bit because wet hands help prevent the dough from sticking as much. Still very sticky, but it's going to be a game changer. So I just grab the corners and stretch them out just to be a little square shape. And if we were to add inclusions into our dough, this is the perfect time to do it. You'll spread it all over the top, and then what the next step is, we're gonna fold it into thirds. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this left side and fold it over itself. And then if you had inclusions, I would also put it on this section that we just folded. And then take the outside edge and take it up and fold it over itself again. So now we have our dough folded into a third. And from there, we're just gonna roll it on top of each other. Like almost a cinnamon roll, just no cinnamon or sugar. Put some flour over the top so that it's not gonna be super sticky when we put it into the shaping dish. Just take it and flip it so that that side is face down. And we have it in our little basket. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and pinch the edges inwards just to give it even a little bit more strength and structure while it is shaping correctly. Okay, we're all cleaned up and our dough is in our proofing basket. I'm just gonna go ahead and cover it with one of these hairnet things. Again, you can just use a towel if that's what you're using. This is just what I use. And this is where you can either do one of two things. At this point, you can put it in your fridge overnight and let the bread proof in the fridge. Being in the cold temperature is gonna slow that process down, so it will take longer. I'm just gonna let it sit on my counter and proof. I'm just gonna do about an hour. You can do like 1 to 2 hours is usually what I do and it works. But it's getting late and I don't wanna be up making bread at midnight. So I'm just gonna do an hour sitting in this basket and I'll come back when we're ready to bake it. I moved you guys, but it's time to bake our sourdough now. This is probably the easiest part of the whole process. All I did is, I will show you right over here. If you can see, I preheated the oven to 450 degrees. This takes like 30 minutes in my oven. It actually is insane. I started this at 9:50 and now it's 10:21. So it just takes forever. But one of the main things you need to do is to preheat the oven with your Dutch oven in there so that it stays hot and the bread is gonna cook accurately. I'm gonna go ahead and dump the dough out onto this parchment paper and then I'm gonna score it and show you what that looks like. I scored the bread and I added it to our hot Dutch oven. I just did a simple slice down the center. It's really important that you don't skip that step or your bread is just gonna explode, not necessarily into a million pieces, but it's gonna affect how the loaf turns out because it's gonna expand so much it needs some giveaway room. But I have that all ready to go and I'm just gonna put the lid on, put it in the oven for 30 minutes and then you take the lid off and cook for another 15 minutes. All right, you guys, the bread is done. I just like to let it cool on a wire rack for at least an hour. I usually just put it on there and let it cool overnight and it's ready for the morning. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it cracks when it comes out of the oven. It's kind of an all-day process, but definitely worth it. Definitely going to bed now. Thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help you.